It's lovely to see you all. I'm Carol from the team at CJG Wellness, and here we're doing another of our video talks and about health and wellness. And we are today we have Dr. Stephen Brooke, who is talking to us about your amazing heart, which I have found so interesting. He's talking about your physical and your spiritual heart and how those two interact with your wellness. And I have found it so interesting from his book, An Amazing Heart, which is where I learned about this idea of your heart being so involved with the wellness of your physical and spiritual heart. So Dr. Stephen Brooke, who was practiced as a general practice, I'll hand over to you, Dr. Stephen Brooke. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you very much, Carol. It's a great pleasure to be with you and supporting your endeavour and providing a seminar for your listeners and viewers. My name is Stephen Brooke. I was a GP in general practice until 4 years ago, and I retired, but I've continued doing coaching and counselling. And I'm going to show you my screen. We're trusting the technology will work for us. Yes, absolutely. And here is my introductory screen, which is my logo, Leb, Discover Your Heart. Leb is the Hebrew word for heart. And my logo, you see, is a combination of heart, brain, and gut, that little squiggle at the bottom. And although I shan't say much about the gut today, I shall be saying a lot about the head and the heart, or shall we say the brain and the heart. I've been on a long journey as a professional. I qualified as a doctor. I worked as an anaesthetist, did some pediatric children's medicines, and then became a general practitioner in Swindon in Wiltshire for 27 years. And during that time, I also trained in pastoral counselling and coaching and neurolinguistic programming. And finally, in something called heart math, which I shall be speaking about, which is about getting head and heart in harmony. And my professional journey, in a nutshell, is the road from the head to the heart. As a professional doctor, I was trained to use my head. I wasn't trained to use my heart. And I have discovered how important both are. And the idea of using your heart may be a new concept for a lot of people. The talk today is called Head and Heart in Harmony for Resilience. Resilience is what we all need in today's world, full of potential stresses from all directions. And I'm going to be talking about heart and mind stroke, brain stroke, head. The idea that your heart can help your mind is perhaps new, as I said, and I want to explain about the relevance of this session. Now, I may just have to do a little bit of unsharing for a moment so that I can get rid of some background interference of different parts of the computer. Okay, now I'm going to share again, come back with you. So there should be fewer interruptions. Now, there's a target. What are our goals for today? I'm not sure what time of day you will be listening or watching to this. For me, it's an afternoon. So if I say this afternoon, that will hopefully make sense to you. This is going to be good for your well-being, good for your mental health, good for connecting heart and mind. And I'm going to give you some tools to start using today. because this is not all about you learning stuff or us learning stuff with our heads and our thoughts and our minds, but engaging our hearts in the process. Now, the talk is going to fall into three main parts: the role of the heart, the influence of the heart, and enlisting the heart. I'm going to start by leading you in a practical procedure now involving your heart. And we're going to do this 4 times over the next hour, so you will be quite familiar with it by the end. And it has 3 parts. Number 1 is heart focus. You simply focus your attention in the area of the heart. Now, it's helpful if you put yourself into a relaxed posture. So if you're sitting down, it's good to have both feet fairly and squarely on the ground, and sit comfortably so that you're not distracted. And now focus your attention in the area of your heart. Some people find it helps to put their hand on their heart to give them that sense of connection. And immediately you do this, you're already starting to activate messages between your head, brain, and your heart. Second step is what we call heart breathing. And this is something which is very good for you, whatever you're doing with your heart. And that is to slow down your breathing, make it slower and deeper. And imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. That's not hard to imagine, is it? Because your breath is coming in and out of your chest, and your heart is right in the center of the chest, slightly to the left. So as you're thinking about your heart, focus on breathing more deeply and more slowly than usual. Get into a rhythm of about 5 or 6 seconds to breathe in and about 5 or 6 seconds to breathe out. And I'm going to do a couple of those breaths and give you a chance to just enter this rhythm of slowing down your breathing. And if possible, you need to allow your tummy to rise as you're taking the breath in, because your lungs are pushing down your diaphragm, and your diaphragm is pushing the contents of your belly down and forwards. So that's the second step. Third step is to do with what you're choosing to think about. And right now, I invite you to choose something that is positive to think about. Now, something you appreciate or someone. I can, for example, think about my wife or my wedding day or something I love, a member of my family. And the important thing is that we identify something which has this positive emotion attached to it. Appreciation is a really useful and important one. There's something that you love, there's something you value, there's something that you care for, there's someone you care for. When you think of such a person or such a thing, you feel better. So I'm going to invite you now to identify that one thing or person that you'd like to focus on. And let's go through these 3 steps. Focus your attention in the area of your heart. Slow down your breathing. Imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart. And notice that thing or person you appreciate. So it's a combination of breathing in, appreciating, and breathing out, focusing on appreciating this person in our heart. Some people can do this much more naturally and more easily and faster than others, and that's perfectly normal and perfectly natural. Some people have to struggle to think of these 3 things or do these 3 things. Oh, I've got to think about my heart, got to think about my breathing, oh, got to remember something I appreciate. But I can tell you that with practice, it becomes very easy, very natural, and very fast. And having done it for many years, with one deliberate big breath, I can immediately get that sense of appreciation and greater happiness and joy. So even if I tell you nothing else today, this is something which is a very good habit to take into your lives and do it as often as you think of it, especially when you're feeling stressed. It's what we call the quick coherence technique, and it's been created by the Heart Math Institute, who have their headquarters in California in the USA. And they have been doing research for 30 years or more about the science of the heart and the heartbeat and the heart rhythm and how it relates to our emotions and our wellness. And I've learned a huge amount from them, and I've become a licensed heart math practitioner in the last couple of years. So coming back to our subject of heart and mind, or heart and head, interesting, isn't it? When we talk about our mind, we tend to think about our head or our brain. But I'm going to suggest to you that our mind and our brain actually is not just inside our head. In fact, our heart has a brain, but we will come on to that. How your heart can help your mind. So first part, the role of the heart. Secondly, the influence of the heart. And thirdly, the practicalities, enlisting our heart as a partner. Your heart is not something you just have to protect from heart attacks and stop poisoning by eating the wrong foods. It's something that can actually help us to live life in an enhanced way in many directions. First of all, the role of the heart. What is your heart? It's a hydraulic ram made of muscle, incorrectly described as a pump. Apparently, in terms of hydraulics, it's a ram, not a pump. Secondly, it has a powerful influence on your whole body. And I'm going to tell you about that influence as we go through. Your heart has a brain, it has intelligence. It's got a network of nerve cells attached to it that integrate with each other and actually constitute a brain. So you not only have a brain inside your head, you have a brain at the back of your heart, which is integrally connected with the way your heart is functioning inside you. Your heart perceives. It's part of folklore, isn't it? That we sometimes perceive things not with our mind, but with our heart. And I'm going to show you how actually that's a scientific reality that we can work with. So our heart can perceive, communicate, can remember, can have deep beliefs, and has a sense of identity. And one clue to that set of truths is the experiences of people who have a heart transplant. And a certain proportion of those people find that they have inexplicable beliefs and memories and preferences that they didn't have before, that come from the person who has donated their heart. And that might seem like impossible to understand, but in fact it's very easy to understand when we look at the science of heart and math. Your heart communicates not only through sending blood and through sending a pressure wave, but by sending hormones, some of which it actually produces, and sending messages along the nerves between the heart and the head, and a huge electromagnetic field that the heart produces. Some of you may have had an ECG done, which measures the electrical shape of the heart field at your skin. You have sticky stickers put on different parts of your chest, and then it's hitched up to a recording machine, and it shows the shape of the electric wave. Well, we have both electricity and magnetism coming out from our heart, and we'll be talking about that in a little bit more detail. As I mentioned, our hearts house our long-term memories and values and our sense of self. I should be saying lots of things that I shan't have time to go into detail about, but hopefully whet your appetite about what more you could learn about the way your heart is an important part of you. Our heart has a sense of boundaries, and it keeps a record of our emotions and their effects. So the traditional understanding of the heart as the center of emotion is not just wishful thinking or imagination, but there is a great deal of science that supports it. Your heart has a brain. And for those of you who may be interested, this is a view of the back of your heart. If you were standing behind someone and looking at their heart, this is what you would see. You see that the great arteries coming and the great veins coming in and out of the heart. And basically, there's 5 areas there, each with different names, that have what's called ganglions, which are collections of blood vessels, collections of nerve cells, not blood vessels, which all act as a network, and together they act as a brain, and that's called the cardiac plexus. And you can dissect it, you can identify it, and we have many thousands of nerve cells that are connected in that way and effectively form a brain of the heart. Secondly, your heart has intelligence. If you're looking for a spiritual connection, then it's quite interesting that the major religions of the world all give a place to the heart. And the Bible, in particular, mentions about something called the heart stirring, singing, speaking, rejoicing, meditating, desiring, trusting, and obeying. And this is more than just a metaphor, because we now discover that the science that heart math have been demonstrating shows that this area of our body, this mixture of muscle and nerves and electromagnetic waves, is actually capable of perception, learning, remembering, feeling, responding, resonating with other people or resonating with ideas, thinking and communicating, speaking. Now that's just amazing. For those of you, probably most of you, who look for a holistic approach to health, and you think of the body, the mind, and the spirit, or the soul, what we discover is that actually the heart, in the fullest sense, is at the center of all those things. It's physical, it's connected with emotions and thinking, and it's connected also with ultimate values and spirituality. You may be aware that there's different kinds of intelligence. There's the IQ that is often measured to see how intelligent you are, but there's also something called the emotional intelligence, which actually has a larger impact on your success in life than your IQ. And developing the heart in ways I shall be introducing help to develop emotional intelligence. So the opportunity for us is to develop the wisdom of the heart, because in this organ that we only ever thought was a lump of muscle that beats and pumps lies an intelligence that we can communicate with and benefit from. That's a diagram you don't want to worry too much about. Brain on the top left, heart on the bottom right. It shows the fact that there's a number of nerves, nerve connections, some involving the spinal cord and some involving the vagus nerves, which connect the heart and the brain. What's interesting is that in the vagus nerve, there are more messages going from the heart to the brain than there are the other way around. In fact, 10 times as many. So the heart is sending 10 times as many messages and information and wisdom to the brain than the other way around. It's an interesting thought. Now, let's just rehearse this quick coherence technique again. Remember the heart focus, the heart breathing, and the heart emotion. So focus on our heart. And then once again, slow down the breathing. As I'm talking, of course, my breathing tends to be faster. But now I, with you, have the opportunity to slow down my breathing. Take a bigger breath, deeper and slower, and let it out in a relaxed way. And at the same time, remember someone I love, someone I appreciate, or a happy memory. Maybe a concert, or maybe another person in your life, someone you love, someone in your family. So right now, here's another chance. This is a relaxation exercise, but it's actually more than a relaxation exercise. It's increasing the amount of oxygen that's coming to your whole body. It's giving you something positive to focus on, making your breathing more efficient, more regenerating, and it's giving you a chance to remember someone you love or something you love and to enjoy doing so. And it's kind of grounding this sense of appreciation with a physical activity that you can do yourself anytime. So breathe in a couple of breaths in and out of appreciation. For those of you who are interested in technology, HeartMath produced quite a few pieces of equipment, and I use one of those. You can put a probe or a sensor on a finger or on your earlobe, which is then plugged into your computer, and there's software that shows you how coherent you are in this sense of coherence, which I'll be explaining in a minute. And it gives you instant and real-time feedback of the way in which your breathing and your heartbeat are becoming coordinated with each other. And those who do this exercise regularly discover increasing benefits. So we've talked about the role of the heart. Secondly, the influence of the heart. Still in this great big topic of how your heart can help your mind. So what's the influence of the heart? Well, your heart has a rhythm. I'm sure you're aware that your heart is beating. Sometimes it beats faster, sometimes it beats harder, sometimes slower. But your heart is not just something that speeds up and slows down. It has a beautiful pattern between the beats. And in this diagram, I'm going to have to explain a lot of concepts in a short time. The horizontal scale is the passage of time in seconds, and the vertical scale is how fast your heart is beating. And you see that this person's heart, it starts off beating 60 times a minute, so that's about 1 beat every second. It rises to 90 beats a minute, with that red line, and then comes down again. And then you notice that in the second half of the diagram, from the 100 seconds onwards, this subject is choosing the kind of breathing that we've just been doing, the coherent breathing. What he's doing is slowing and deepening his breathing about 5 or 6 times a minute. And his heart speed is responding, because when you breathe in, your heart tends to speed up a little. When you breathe out, your heart tends to slow down a little. But you can exaggerate that difference between in-breathing and out-breathing by what we've been talking about, the heart focus, the heart breathing, and the heart emotion of appreciation. Now you see what the heart rate is doing when you're frustrated. It doesn't necessarily go very, very fast, but you see the shape of it, it's jagged, it's up and down, it's unpredictable, it rises, comes down again, it's jagged, it's like a set of mountain peaks. And when you look at the pattern of the heart rate on the half of the diagram on the right, you see this smooth transition from slower to faster, to slower to faster. And that's the pattern that I'm suggesting we learn to cultivate and make a habit of. It has so many benefits. That's called a coherent heart rhythm, and it's called coherent breathing. And the coherent simply means that things are in sync with each other. So I'm not talking about how articulate your speech is when I talk about coherence or incoherence, but an internal harmony inside your body. Your heart has an influence. Now, there is a diagram there of the electromagnetic field of your heart. Because the heart is a very powerful beating organ, it actually sends out a powerful electromagnetic signal. And it's a bit like a ring donut, or a bit like the magnetic field of a magnet. And many of you will have perhaps at school put a magnet, a bar magnet, underneath a piece of paper and put iron filings on top of the paper. And you notice that you get that pattern of iron filings, which is rather like the pattern that you can see on the right hand. And what's interesting is that it's hundreds times stronger than the electromagnetic field of the brain. So that's just a clue that the heart is an important and influential organ. Your heart communicates, as I said, through the blood, through the pressure, through hormones, through nerves, and through electromagnetism. And because it's beating very powerfully and oscillating, it pulls the rest of the organs of your body into rhythm with itself. And that's called entrainment. Something you would notice in a shop that had a lot of clocks attached on walls that had pendulums or pendula. They tend to get in sync with each other, and they tend to get in sync with the largest and heaviest pendulum, called entrainment. That's what your heart does. And if you have chosen a rhythm of tranquility and appreciation, every organ in your body is going to get into rhythm with your heart, rhythm of tranquility, appreciation, and love, which is a wonderful truth. Now, you have an electromagnetic field around you, so does everybody else, and they interact with each other. And if you want to have a good influence on someone, if you want to bring a calming influence or a loving influence, the best way you can do it is to focus on your heart, to focus on this positive emotion, and slow down your breathing. And here's a diagram showing the interaction of the different heart fields. And the way the nature has designed us, or God has made us, depending on how you perceive the ultimate cause of the way we are, is just tremendous. That when we are engaging in an attitude of appreciation or love or forgiveness or care, that is not only having a good effect on us, but it's increasing the good effect that we have on other people. More than that, it makes us more able to benefit and respond from good vibes coming from other people. And I use the word vibes because we're talking about frequencies and vibrations that are involved in these electromagnetic fields that are carrying waves from us or to us. Now, there are many benefits from this state of coherent heart rhythms. And I've divided them to three. There's mental benefits. And if you go to the website of heartmath.org, they have a large number of research papers and reports of the research they've done, not only in laboratories, but in organizations and in healthcare organizations. And they have documented how people who regularly do this simple practice that I'm teaching you today and use it in different ways and develop it in certain directions, end up with a number of mental benefits. We actually perceive things more accurately, feel better, make better decisions, solve problems better, are more creative, and have a more useful sense of intuition. Sometimes we get a sense that something is good or something is perhaps unsafe. Sixth sense, we might call it. What's being noted is that that sense of just knowing intuitively, as it might be called, is enhanced when you cultivate this coherent breathing pattern regularly. As well as mental benefits, there are physical benefits, and a number of heart conditions are actually improved by the people who are doing these exercises regularly, which is very encouraging, because we might not have known until today that actually you can have a benefit on the health of your heart, not only by eating the right things and by exercising appropriately, but by also learning to manage your stress, and also enjoying love. Love for yourself, love for other people, love from other people. Other benefits, various aspects of diabetes have been observed to improve in people who are doing this. There is a link there, because in diabetes, the nerves themselves become damaged, as well as the blood levels of sugar. And what we're doing with this coherent exercise is we are toning up and tuning up our nerves, as well as our blood and our blood vessels, and indeed every organ. We also improve our immune system. It's been shown that some of the immunoglobulins actually are put out in larger concentrations when people are focusing on the heart in the way I've been talking about. And also that some of our hormones get into a better balance. And thirdly, relationships benefit enormously when we have this coherent heart rhythm. Because empathy, which is that sense of understanding what someone else is feeling, or having a sense of what it's like for them, or the other way around, if you're with someone who's empathic, they have a real sense of what it's like for you and what you're feeling. That's something that's very valuable in the world of counseling and therapy. And what we've noticed, or what the Heart Math Institute have discovered, is that empathy between people improves when they're both practicing heart coherence. Communication between them improves. It is as though they are listening with their heart, or listening to the heart, and not just the words. So that's very powerful. And I've been using heart math in my counseling and in my coaching, as well as in my medicine, of putting myself into this state of coherence. And it enables the person that you're trying to help to come into a more coherent state. It helps you to be more empathic. It aids the understanding and communication between the two of you. So how can we increase the influence of our heart? Well, I've been giving you some clues. I'm going to pull them together. What I've been saying is that your heart has the greatest positive impact on other people when you have a heart focus, when you have heart breathing, and when you have a heart emotion. And the emotions to cultivate are 5 main ones. Appreciation or gratitude is a big one. And even the action of choosing to appreciate someone or something actually does us a huge amount of good. Imagine spending an hour, on the one hand, grumbling, being miserable, telling everyone how awful it is. Compare that with spending an hour or even 5 minutes, noticing what you appreciate, noticing what you value, what you're grateful for. Even right now, I can look around and I can see my study, and you can see some of the books behind me. How nice it is to have a room big enough for a study. How nice it is to have books on the shelves. How nice to have a computer and a keyboard. How nice to be able to deliver something with PowerPoint. How nice to have a comfortable chair to sit on. How comfortable to have something to say, hopefully worth hearing. We shall find out about that later. There are so many things, just the fact that I can breathe, the fact I can take a big breath and I can increase my breathing. The fact that right now I can choose to breathe in peace or happiness or appreciation. So many things we can appreciate. And it's no surprise that people who spend most of their life appreciating things live longer and are happier and are more healthy. And the heart is the key. Forgiveness is an important one too. You know that forgiveness is more of a benefit for you than the person you're forgiving. It's when you decide to release hatred and anger and bitterness. And those who practice heart math find that it becomes easier to engage with forgiveness. Now, I'm not going to gloss over how difficult it is when you've been badly and deeply hurt. But what I'm saying is, and I'm not giving a talk about forgiveness in particular, but it is possible to achieve a state of forgiveness, and your heart can help you do it in the way we've been talking about. And lack of forgiveness may be something in your life that's actually holding you back and damaging you more than the person you need to forgive. The other things, compassion and care. A sense of compassion for someone. When you're feeling compassionate for someone, if at that same time you focus on your heart and you slow down your breathing, you can actually convey compassion and care to them, and probably become more practical in the ways of how you might deliver compassion. So how to increase the influence of your heart? It's exactly those things. It's cultivating those 5. We call them core heart emotions in heart math: appreciation, love, forgiveness, compassion, and care. And care is not anxiety; it's desire for someone's well-being, and it's not coloured with worry about their well-being, but it's a genuine desire to do them good. Care. That is a heart building emotion. Can develop this ability with practice. So let's practice that again. I want you to identify a person that you would like to have a good effect on. Maybe a person who's giving you a hard time. Maybe a person who is not giving you a hard time and you really love, and they've got a need and you just love to benefit them, to bless them, to help them. Well, I invite you to do this exercise. So think about that person, sense how much you appreciate them, or how much you love them, how much you care for them, and slow down the breathing. Focus on your heart. Put your hand on your heart if that helps. And breathe in. Have a sense of breathing in love, compassion, and care. And as you breathe out, imagine that you're sending love, compassion, and care to that person. So breathing in love and sending out love, care, compassion. And if you can picture them in your mind's eye, that's wonderful. And if you can even picture them receiving your love, and picture them feeling better as a result of the love you're sending them. Now, what I've just described may sound like complete hocus pocus, but there's a huge scientific basis for it. And people who do this discover that relationships are enhanced. Some of you already operate from the heart, and you've already started doing it. And what I'm teaching you is just confirming what you already know. And it's giving you a scientific support and a medical support, and maybe it's encouraging you to do it more. And some of you for whom this is totally new, well, that's great, isn't it? We're all learning. We can all learn as much as we choose. We all learn at different speeds. And some of you will be learning this much faster than I am, and that's fantastic. Some of you might need help to learn it, and you may need to approach someone who could help you to get in touch with your heart in the ways we've been talking about. How your heart can help your mind. So the third and final part, enlisting the heart, which is really just summarizing what I've been saying. Your heart amplifies good emotions. Choose an emotion that you like love or compassion or appreciation. Take it to your heart. In other words, become aware of your heart, slow down your breathing, get the benefit in body and mind. Here are a few principles, a few more thoughts that you could develop about guarding and using your heart. There's a verse in the book of Proverbs, which was written 1,000 years before Christ. It appears in our Bible, in the Old Testament, that says, above everything, guard your heart, because out of it are the issues of life, or out of it are the boundaries of life, or from your heart emerges the factors that are going to have a big impact on your life. So first of all, feed your heart with positive emotions. Just take note how much of our time we spend feeling angry, frustrated, or stressed, for example, or resentful. And then notice that we could actually choose, like right now I'm going to choose to appreciate something. Right now I'm going to choose to remember how much I love such and such a person. Second thing is what's known as writing on your heart. Again, in the book of Proverbs, it says, write good things on your heart, write truth. And what you learn from the heart, what you really believe, if you take a sad example, a child who's told by an authority figure, you'll never amount to anything. And they believe it. So you see, they hear words, and it's connected with an emotion, a strong emotion of rejection and not being valued, and probably self-rejection. At that moment, they're right on their heart, as opposed to right on their head. Information with emotion. And that often becomes then a limiting factor for the rest of their adult life. Deep down, there's this subconscious sense that they're not worthy or they won't amount to anything. And again, I'm opening up a huge area here in terms of counseling and therapy. But what I'm suggesting is that we have the opportunity to write positive messages on our heart by the combination of words and positive emotions. Positive thinking has some value, but not very much. But positive speech together with engaging a positive emotion like appreciation while we're saying positive things has a much deeper impact on our life, a much bigger change in the way we feel about ourselves and we feel about the world and the way we engage. Writing on your heart. Listen to your heart, because I said that the heart communicates. If you put yourself in this coherent state and tune in to what your heart is saying, often you get some wisdom, which doesn't come when we're rushing around, breathing very rapidly and feeling stressed. So this just tuning in, heart focus, heart breathing and heart emotion of appreciation can sometimes produce some wisdom that we just notice coming in, an idea that comes perhaps, or a person fleets across our mind who might be able to be someone we could contact, for example. Rejoice with your heart. Whenever I'm happy, I try to remember to do this heart-focused breathing, because that's going to make the impact of my happiness greater. And it's going to help me to remember that happy event more. Meditate with your heart. So when we're many people from many religions understand the value of meditation, which is slowing down and focusing on appropriate things, whether they be words or bodily sensations, or there's a whole range of ways of meditating. But here is a way of meditating, is to come in that coherent state and then just notice what our heart may be saying, or simply focus on the breathing in and out, appreciating the fact that we can breathe in and out, how lovely it is. There are all sorts of meditations that can involve the heart. Now, practice engaging your heart. I try to do it several times a day to slow down my breathing and think, ah, yes. And focus plus breath plus emotion. Now, coming towards the end, there's a hidden power struggle. Your brain says, dear heart, it's all in your head. In other words, our thinking and our logic and our brain, our rationality, sometimes or quite often overlooks the quiet wisdom of the heart and doesn't recognize the value of it. My journey is not from head to the heart, but it is getting head and heart to listen to each other, because both have messages for us which are valuable. And you may be aware that our brain is divided into two. That's the brain inside our head. And by choosing to alter our emotional state through the heart focus, in the way I've been saying, we can modify the messages that go up to our brain. And here's an exciting thought. There's a left brain and there's a right brain, and they operate in two different ways. And some of you probably are aware of this. This is a gross oversimplification, but it's a useful one because it highlights the fact that we have different ways of functioning and they need to work in harmony with each other. With the left side of the brain, there tends to be the association of logic and things that are linear, one after another, laws, things that are and are not, and language, linguistic. On the right side of the brain, it's more to do with relations and responses, art, rhythms, responses, reaching for the stars, risk-taking. And you see all those things beginning with R. So what's been noted by the heart math is that people who are engaging the coherent heart rhythm find that the two halves of their brain are working together better, producing creative results, or a combination that gives you a broader perspective on an issue or on a decision, for example. So there's a thought, how your heart can help your brain. And here's a quick list of some of the benefits that have been documented of the effects on mental health. Increased positive outlook and motivation, calmness, etc. Less fatigue, resentfulness, and stress symptoms. Better ability to do these things, perceiving, making decisions, solving problems. Better sleep. And in terms of common mental health problems, less anxiety, less depression. It's a bit like physiotherapy. You can be given an exercise, and if you do it regularly, the next time you visit your physiotherapist, you'll have improved. If you don't do it regularly, you go back to a physiotherapist and you won't have improved. And the only difference is that you've done it regularly. And what the heart math research found was that people who make a habit of this coherent breathing, heart focus, actually had documented increases in the measures of anxiety and depression and anger. I'm going to just tease you with a new idea, but I'm not going to go into it in any detail because of the time. We have a brain in our head, the cephalic brain. We have a brain in our heart, the heart brain, cardiac brain. We have a brain in our gut called the enteric brain. You may not be aware that your gut has a brain as well. 3 big brains that we've got. Well, they're not all the same size as each other. But good decisions and good living require us to be taking account of the wisdom of all these three brains. And another qualification and therapy that I include in my counseling and coaching is something called multiple braining, helping people to connect with the wisdom of the head and the heart and the gut. And with the head, one can sum it up in a way by saying creativity. With the heart, you can sum it up with the word compassion, which is connecting with other people in a loving way. And the gut is to do with courage. Now that's a huge top level oversimplification, but just a reminder, there's a huge amount that we can learn and enjoy learning about the way we're structured, and we have access to learn about it. There is a book that I recommend if you want to explore that, and maybe I can do a session in the future on the multiple brains, but using your multiple brains to do cool stuff based on neuroscience and using NLP and behavioral modeling. And in a nutshell, I will have to say this so quickly, you won't have time to do it, but when you need to make a decision, the people who make the best decisions regularly, scientific research has shown that they have somehow tapped into a particular procedure, and they consult their head, their heart, and their gut about the decision. But they do it in this particular order. Go to their heart first, then their head, back to their heart, then their gut, and then back to their heart. Now, to learn how to do this would obviously take time, but just a teaser for you, for your professional development or maybe for your personal development. So what's the conclusion? We can cultivate attitudes and we can use opportunities. We can cultivate appreciation and optimism, love, compassion, care, and altruism and forgiveness. And we can cultivate it by using these heart-focused breathing exercises. And the times to use the opportunity are when we're stressed, regularly, and when we're with other people. So thank you very much for listening to this. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope that you've learned something practical, the heart focus, the heart breathing, and the heart in motion, and an exercise that you can put into practice anytime you choose, and you can become more expert with it. So there again is the final reminder, the heart focus, the heart breathing, slower and deeper, and the heart feeling, appreciation or care. If you wish to contact me, that's my name, and my personal email address, stephen.brooks3@ntlworld.com. Carol also has in her hand or on her desk a book that I've written, which takes these matters a little bit further. It's designed as a 15-day journey called Your Amazing Heart. And each day there's one short chapter of 3 pages, which includes, it's got a quite strong spiritual emphasis to it, which might attract some or not attract others. A little bit of science, a little bit of medicine, and an exercise that you can do, a kind of meditation which you can adapt according to your worldview. It's written from a Christian perspective, and that's available. If you contact me, I can post one out to you. I do offer counselling and coaching, which is very much heart-based. And again, if you're interested in that, then feel free to email me at stephen.brooks3@ntlworld.com. So thank you very much, Carol, for this opportunity to share. I hope this has been enjoyable for everyone who's watching, and I hope it's something that you can take and apply and learn to enjoy even more. So thank you very much, and goodbye from me.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Steve. And maybe you can stop, screen sharing. That's great. No, that's absolutely amazing. And as you said, it is in this book. which is I've been looking at and found really useful myself. So I know that this is really something that can work and that people will find great benefit from it. So thank you again. And yes, just to remind our members, we will be doing at the end of the month on the group Facebook members page, answering any questions. So do put your any questions in the Facebook group, and then we will be answering them at the end of the month. So that'd be great. Yeah, so I'd really like to thank you, Dr. Stephen, for this time, because it's just opened our eyes. The book has opened my eyes, but even your explanation, it's gone further. The heart is just amazing, and how it really affects our wellness in such an amazing way that we've not really taken on board, and how we can help ourselves with your exercises, and really appreciating your heart. So I'd like to thank you again, Dr. Stephen, and encourage everybody else to put those ideas that have been suggested into practice, because they really do work. Yeah, so this is Carol saying goodbye for this month, and remember to come back and have another look next month, because we'll be into new areas. So thank you, and goodbye.